person needs to know that not everybody, and in fact, nobody, is going to be exactly like you. Everyone has different weaknesses and different strengths. So when a person sees that someone else is struggling with something, it doesn't necessarily by default make them the worst person on earth. And even though you yourself don't know why they got so angry, or you don't know why they go crazy over food, or you don't know why they do such and such, because you don't have that same inclination, it doesn't by default make you better. Because you weren't tested in the same thing. Had you been tested in the same thing, in your weakness, you would fall too. The sages teach us not to judge another person unless you're in their shoes. Needless to say, who am I to go judge somebody else when I have so many of my own weaknesses? So yes, I don't have his weaknesses and I don't have her weaknesses, but I have my own weaknesses. And what ends up happening is many times the person focuses on what? On his strength and their weaknesses. And that's what makes a person corrupt. It's literally corrupting your own time in this world and putting yourself on a path of simply living a lie. That everyone else is in the wrong and you're in the right. And it makes a person very detestable. And this is one of the things that a person has to run away from. Why? You just have to really start evaluating where you stand. When a person is not honest with themselves and they simply think that everyone is, in essence, has the same thoughts as them, the same weaknesses as them, they develop a perspective that is wrong by default. Like their perspective is wrong by default. Why? Because their perspective is assuming things that are not common. But when a person assumes that the world is exactly as they see it, they're going to default wrong more times than not. A person thinks that just because they have a certain truth, therefore that truth stands for everyone. That truth is the same for everyone. And it's simply not the case. The only truth that's eternal, the only truth that's unchangeable is the Torah itself. That if a person learns and toils over the Torah, they'll see that in order for a person to truly get to the bottom line truth, it's not the Torah that you're learning, but rather the character development. This, Rabotai, is the treasures that you find in the Torah are endless. But at the same token, one of the beautiful things about our Torah, it doesn't just talk about fairy tales of success stories. It talks about the flaws in everyone, from the greatest to the worst. And one of the beautiful things that this allows a person to do is not feel alone when you have a flaw yourself, whether that flaw is one thing or another. Because surely other people in the world that got to much higher level of holiness than you did also had that flaw. And in reality, the only difference between you and them is that simple decision of whether to let this flaw continue by giving up and deciding I'm not going to fix it. I was born angry. I was born stingy. I'm so stingy, even compliments I don't give. I'm so arrogant that even to give clap somebody honor when he's the only one on stage, I don't do. I'm so arrogant and so this that I'm just going to stay that way. That is itself spiritual suicide. The righteous person, on the other hand, what does he do? He says, yes, I have a flaw here, I have a flaw there, I have a flaw a lot of places. My decision is, I'm going to fix it. I'm not going to let myself continue this way. The next time I see that I'm angry, next time I see I'm expressing arrogance, next time I see I'm careless, next time I see I'm insensitive, next time I see that I'm selfish in one way or another, I catch myself, I'm going to fix myself. I'm going to do whatever I can to correct it. Yes, the correction hurts. Sometimes it's self-effacement. Sometimes it's lowering yourself to levels you never even thought you would be. Sometimes this, sometimes that. But guess what? That pain of tshuva is much better than the pain of suffering in Shamayim. When a person admits guilt, it hurts, it burns, but only temporarily. After you finish, it feels good. Why? I did it. I did it. I achieved something. I overcame the test. There's a extraordinary self-fulfillment, pleasure there that is impossible to get in anywhere else. So yes, there is pain to do tshuva, but that pain is preceding the pleasure that will eventually come.